You're listening to the Muslim Life Hackers podcast.
Assalamu alaikum, I'm Maheen Malik and welcome to Season 3 of the Muslim Life Hackers podcast. The Muslim Life Hackers podcast brings together individuals from all walks of life to give you their insights on different areas to help you live better, achieve more, and succeed in this life and the next. If you're new to the show, make sure to check out our episode archives over at muslimlifehackers.com, where you'll find all the episodes from Seasons 1 and 2. Now let's get started. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back. In this interview, I'm talking to Abu Muawiyah Ismail Kamdar. Now, to give you some background, he is the head tutorial assistant at Islamic Online University, radio presenter at Radio Al Ansar, creator of the online space IslamicSelfHelp.com, as well as a published writer of multiple books, including the one that we're going to be discussing today in this interview called Getting the Barakah. Now, in this episode, we get into a ton of things regarding managing our time and productivity. And also, if you thought that you were doomed to be an eternal procrastinator, then fear not. This may just be the episode you have been waiting for to get you back on track and heading towards those goals. Additionally, we also get into setting 10 to 20 year long goals and how to avoid making decisions that you're going to regret later, and the perfect time management system for you. Abu Muawiyah has also kindly offered a special gift to all the listeners of this episode as well, so do keep ears primed for that. Loads of great stuff in this one, and with that being said, let's get straight into this interview. Are you looking for quality Islamic content to listen to on the go? If so, check out Muslim Central Audio. Muslim Central Audio is a database for over 7,000 audio lectures, including reminders, debates, and interviews by a range of speakers. You can get access to all this through their website at www.muslimcentralaudio.com, or just grab their free mobile app from the iTunes or Google Play Store. Just search up Muslim Central Audio and you're good to go. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Okay, so Abu Muawiyah, now I know that you did an interview for a while ago with Mifrah on confidence, dealing with setbacks and criticisms, which we'll also link in the show notes for those who haven't listened to it and want to catch up. But for our new listeners, could you tell us what you do in, say, one line? Tell us about yourself in one line.
Okay, one line's a bit short, but I'll try to keep it short as possible.
As many lines as you like then.
Yeah, okay. I'm the head tutorial assistant at the Islamic Online University. I've been serving in that role for about 6 years now. Mm-hmm. I'm a radio presenter on Radio Al Ansar, an author of multiple books, the founder of Islamic Self-Help, a blogger, and I write articles for the Al Ummah newspaper and the IOU Insights magazine. And yeah, I think that's the basics of it.
Alhamdulillah. So, I actually only recently found out that you're a radio host on Al Ansar. What do you guys talk about over there?
Yeah, I have a program called Living Islam. It started off last year in August. Basically, it was about the maqasid of Sharia, but brought down to a level for the average person, the goals of Islam, and how we can live our life according to those goals. In the past month, I switched over to a new topic, which is basically Islamic self-help, doing a radio program on these kind of topics. And I've been with the radio station for about 8 years now. Over the years, we've done programs on the seerah, on tafsir, on dawah, many different topics, alhamdulillah. I've actually been with them. I had my first radio program with them when I was like 21 years old, so I've been with them for a long time. Yeah.
Okay, so it's coming more towards the self-help, which you're writing a lot more on as well.
Yeah, I'm basically moving all of my work into this direction at the moment.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. All right, so today we're going to dive deep into your recent book, Getting the Barakah, which is on time management and intern productivity. So let's start off really broad. And so, Abu Muawiyah, why should our listeners care about time management and in turn being productive?
Well, I think for everybody, we need to worry about time management, because if we don't manage our time, then we're really going to waste our lives away. But for Muslims, there's an even more important reason. And that is because in Islam, time is actually part of our rizq, part of our sustenance. Right? See, most people look at the rizq and think of money. But when you actually look at the word rizq in the Quran and its usage in the hadith, it refers to everything that Allah has provided us with, from our intelligence to our wealth to our ability. According to the hadith, our free time is also a provision that Allah will ask us about. So it's not just a matter of not wasting your life, but it's a matter of the fact that on the Day of Judgment, Allah is going to ask us about our life and what we did with it, our youth and what we did with it, and our free time and what we did with it. So these are actually things that we as Muslims are accountable for. So this is really takes things to a whole nother level, that for us, time management is not just a matter of worldly productivity, but it's a matter of pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by using the resource He has given us in the right way. Right? There's no idea of killing time in Islam, because time is from Allah, right? And it is something that we will be accountable for how we use it.
I really like how you said that time is part of our sustenance. And do you think it's because time is not like a tangible thing, you can't hold time in your hand, that we don't, for example, see it as rizq or see it as valuable? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I think one of the reasons we don't see it as valuable is because we're too distracted. Yeah, entertainment, work, the rat race, you know, we're just moving from thing to thing our whole day. We don't really sit back and reflect. You see, like what I like to do is I like to think about 10 years time, 20 years time, where I want to be, and mold my life in that direction. A lot of people don't think about that. They just, going through the motions, They just know you go to school, you go to university, you get a job, you work for 40 years, you retire. There's no thought process involved. It's just doing things without thinking. But I think anybody who actually sits back and thinks about it, they realize that time is very important. Number one, we don't even know how much time we have. I mean, with wealth, you can check your bank account to check how much wealth you have left. Yeah. But with time, nobody really knows how much time they have left in this world. So that creates a sense of urgency in how we spend our time. But beyond that is also the fact that we're getting older. And as you get older, you find that you don't have the same energy you have when you're younger. That's why the hadith. That's why the hadith says that you'll be asked about your youth and how you spent it. Yeah. Because that's when you've got the energy to get things done. And I mean, I'm 29 years old now. I thought by 29 I'll still be feeling young, I'll still be feeling energetic. But wow, from 21 to 29, you really feel a lot older and you feel a lot less energy. So time management becomes crucial for getting things done. I mean, when I was younger, I didn't have time management, but I could still write a book because of that energy that comes with being young. But now that I'm getting older, I have to being able to live off coffee. Yeah. But now when you're older, you have to actually discipline yourself and make time and set a time, and I mean, I never used to drink coffee when I was younger. I never needed it. Oh, right, I only started drinking coffee 2 years ago, because as I got older, I needed some kind of thing to stimulate me to stay awake and to stay energetic. When I was younger, I didn't need these things. So, our youth is something we're going to be asked about as well. So, this is something that a lot of people just don't think about. We're so busy moving from object to object in our life that we don't ever sit back and think about where am I headed, how am I using my time, and what's going to happen in the end.
Fantastic. Well, so for our listeners who've also grown up in the 90s and noughties and the 80s, and you mentioned the notion of killing time, and also you talked about planning 10, 20 years ahead. Changing the habits and overhauling their current habits sounds very intimidating. Like, how do we go from someone who is constantly drinking coffee and staying up late to, thinking about like the lifetime goals, these 10-year long goals and ambitions? Where do you start with that process?
Well, I think for any kind of change in habits or in lifestyle, it comes down to one thing: your motivation. And someone's got to be motivated to make that change. And motivation to me comes from having a strong vision and having a set of goals that work towards that vision. Alhamdulillah, a few weeks ago, you had an excellent interview with Sheikh Sajid Umar on this topic of a vision, and that really put things in perspective.
Yeah, it was a great interview.
I would ask him to go back and listen to that one, because it really it shows just how important having a vision is. And alhamdulillah, I agree with the Sheikh what he said 100%, that we must have a vision. You need to know what you're doing with your life, because understand this much: if you don't change your bad habits today, they are going to negatively affect you later on. Let me give you 2 examples. If today you have the bad habit of overeating and not exercising, you won't feel the effects of that today. But 10 or 20 years time, not only in 10 or 20 years time are you going to be overweight, but you are going to have diseases, right? Your life is going to get cut short. So you have to change your habits now if you want to be healthy and productive and fulfilled in the future. It's the same with smoking. Those people who smoke, they say it doesn't affect me negatively. But 10, 20, 30 years down the line, it does. So, really you've got to think long term. And when you think long term, you begin to realize the importance of changing the habits you have now. So what I would like people to do, those people who are feeling a bit lazy to change their habits, what I'd like them to do is to think about the future. And this is what I do. I think of what I want to be in 2025 and what I want to be in 2045.
Long projection, huh?
Yeah. And and I trace my way backwards from there, right? That if I want to be here in 10 years time, then 9 years time I have to do this, 8 years time that, 1 year's time this, 6 months time, and that way I'm able to formulate my goals for the next decade, right? Actually, technically my goals are formulated for the next 2 decades, alhamdulillah. But
That's very intimidating.
But the idea is that you've got to know what you want in order to get it. There's excellent quotation from Brian Tracy, one of the world-leading experts on time management. Right? One of his quotations is that if you are afraid it's going to take you 5 or 10 years to accomplish a goal, understand that those 5 or 10 years are going to pass either way.
That's very profound.
Whether you're chasing that goal or not, it's just going to pass. Because think about it. If it's going to take you 4 years to get your a bachelor's degree, and you say, you know what, it's 4 years, it's too long, I'm not going to study it.
Yeah.
In 4 years' time, you are going to be 4 years older. Those 4 years would have passed, but now you don't have the degree.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So the time's going to pass either way. It's up to you whether you're going to use it in a good way or not. So that quotation, I found it very powerful in helping me to realize if I want to do something, I need to do it now, even if it's going to take 5 or 10 years to formulate, because either way, those 5 or 10 years are going to pass.
Oh, absolutely. And I really like how you mentioned that, our day-to-day habits, you don't feel the effects today. You're going to feel it 5 years' time, 10 years' time. And actually reminds me of another podcast I was listening to. It was on, I think it was on productivity as well, but he was talking about how he does 10,000 steps a day. And he knows that, he's not going to feel the effects today, but in 10 years, 20 years' time, he's going to thank himself for walking 10,000 steps a day because, the effects just compound and compound.
Yes, exactly. And that's the thing that many young people don't think about. They don't think 10 or 20 years ahead. And I'm asking people to start doing that. If you start doing that, you'll find the motivation to make change. That's where the motivation comes from, long-term thinking.
So start looking long-term.
And you see that there's an issue related to this, is that most young people growing up in our generation, we brought up with this instant gratification mentality. We want things now. And this is dangerous, because really all good things take time. So this is a very dangerous notion that we have of instant gratification.
Yeah, you also mentioned this in your book, Getting the Barakah, this issue of instant gratification, and modern advertisement uses it. It's all around us, and it also affects our productivity. Could you tell us a bit more about this instant gratification and how it affects us and why we should be more aware of it?
Sure. Yeah, this topic is something I speak about not only in time management, but even in spirituality. When I talk about purification of the soul, I talk about the advertisement industry and this as well, because it's related to our deen as well. Instant gratification is basically the idea that anything that I want, I have to have it right now. And it's opposite. It's called delayed gratification. And that's knowing that good things take time. So you have to be willing to put in the time to get what you want. Now, instant gratification came about with basically the modern world. We want everything at the touch of a button.
Literally, oh, yes, so true. I didn't think about it that way.
In fact, we don't even just want it at the touch of a button. We want it in voice command now. We don't even want to press the button without thinking anymore.
Oh, gosh. It's our life on Siri mode.
So it's like we just want everything immediately. And what this has led to is people want to get rich immediately. People want to go to Jannah immediately. People want to turn the world into a perfect Islamic state immediately. And all of this leads to problems because people who want to get rich immediately, they take shortcuts, they cheat, they deceive, they make up these get rich quick scams, they con people, right? Because of this instant gratification. Or they take a riba-based loan. All of this is based on instant gratification. These extremists today who think that through violence they can establish an Islamic state overnight with no flaws and every Muslim is perfect and every Muslim is pious, and they think they can achieve that overnight through force. This is again instant gratification. They think that, you basically think the khilafat is like one of those instant noodles. You pop it in the pot and immediately you've got your khilafat.
2-minute noodles, yeah.
Yeah, but reality is the Prophet ﷺ to turn Makkah into a proper Islamic land took 23 years. And then too, there were still people there who were sinners. There were still people there who had doubt. There were still people there who had their faults. It wasn't perfect. There never has been in history a land where every single person was perfect. And again, this comes down to that instant gratification. You find people wanting to take shortcuts to Jannah. So they get involved in innovative rituals which have no basis in Islam because someone promised them if you do this, you will go to Jannah immediately. And, they change the religion because they're looking for shortcuts to Jannah. So someone told him, if you only pray Jummah on the last Jummah of Ramadan, all your salah for the year is forgiven. And this is not from Islam. This is someone made this up. But again, it's a shortcut. And everyone in this era are looking for shortcuts. So this is very dangerous, not just to our worldly goals, but to our deen itself. Because when you're only looking for shortcuts, you are going to you're going to do things that are harmful to you and to others, and that goes against the very fundamentals of being a Muslim. Because the Prophet ﷺ states a Muslim does not harm himself or anybody else. So we can't do anything that's harmful. So this is a very dangerous mindset, this instant gratification mindset.
Good point. No, definitely. And things that are instantly gratifying, quick fixes, it's really attractive, but again, it's like thinking long term. We don't think about the consequences later on. We don't think about this 5 years down the line. What's going to happen if I, take all these quick shortcuts and, they don't work, they fail.
Yeah, and there's another point related to that. Another issue of instant gratification today is sin. People want to gratify their nafs immediately, and what it does, it gives them instant gratification, but it's followed by problem after problem after problem. I mean, just look at the example of zina, which is so rife in the Muslim world today.
Yeah, absolutely.
That committing zina is like, it's instant gratification. You're enjoying yourself for the moment. But the amount of problems it leads to, from depression to heartbreak to broken homes to dishonor to STDs to all kinds of things, the problems mount up. And this is really what happens with any form of instant gratification. It's instant results followed by lots of problems. While the right way is an upward struggle and you enjoy the true success at the end. It's complete opposites to each other. Basically instant gratification is like you're jumping off a cliff and you're heading downhill. There's a rush in the beginning, but at the bottom is a mess. And proper work is like climbing a mountain. It's long, it's hard, it's going to take time, but when you get to the top, it's worth it. So, the complete opposites in that way.
So how can for example, if our listeners are faced with a decision to make, how can they recognize whether this is something that's instantly gratifying and it's going to be potentially dangerous in the future for them, or is it something that they should continue to do because it's the easy way?
Well, the first thing you need to do is check if it's Islamically permissible or not. Because there's one standard across the board in our religion, and that is anything which is haram is harmful for you in the long term. Right? This is a standard principle of Islam. So people who wonder, why can't I take drugs? Why can't I smoke? Why can't I fornicate? All of this is because it's harmful to you in the long term. So immediately, look, for example, at the interest-based loans. That's another thing which people don't take seriously anymore. And again, it's related to instant gratification. I'll take an interest-based loan today. I'll get the car I want. I get the house I want. I get everything I want. And you spend the rest of your life as a slave to the bank paying it off.
Yeah, so right? True.
It's instant gratification followed by lifetime of harm. And so really the first thing you have to look at is, does Islam allow it or not? Because if Islam does not allow it, then there's some harm in it, even if I as a young person can't see it. Right? The second thing you want to do is speak to an expert in that field. Yeah. This is something everyone needs to do. You need to speak to experts. Whatever field of life you get involved with, you must have mentors. You must have experts that you speak to. You can build off their experience.
Yeah,
they
look
can
at their
tell you this is a bad
things.
idea. Yeah, exactly. They'll tell you, listen, when I was your age, I tried this and it messed up big time because this is what happened. And you learn without having to make the mistake yourself. So speak to an expert, speak to someone who has experience, and listen to what they have to say. And so if you do these two things, if you check the deen and then you check with the people of experience, people of wisdom, inshallah you'll be able to avoid all of these problems, because between wisdom and deen, you have what's needed to avoid the problematic areas of life.
Fantastic. So first check if it's permissible and then speak to experts and go from there, inshallah. Diving further into our questions, also within the book you mentioned about how not all hours of the day are the same. Sometimes your concentration is revving, you could take on a mountain, and other times you're fighting to keep focused and you're starting to reach for the coffee. Can you explain this further and how we can use these concepts of different hours of the day to advantage to get certain tasks finished?
This idea that is basically that all of us, is something we experience. All of us have certain times of the day where we are full of energy, we're revved up, we can get things done. And we have other times of the day where we are completely and utterly exhausted and we just can't think straight.
Yeah.
Right? And so the first thing you need to do is identify those hours, because it's not the same for everyone. Some people are early birds, some people are night owls. Right? Whichever one you are, you're going to be able to identify it. Like for some people, their productive hours is 2 a.m. They can literally sit and write a book at 2 a.m.
So it's not better or worse to be a night owl or an early bird. It's whatever suits you.
Yeah, it really comes down to your nature. What I realized is these things change over time.
Okay.
people change. Like when I was younger, I would be up from 5 a.m. every day, and I would get everything done in the mornings. As I'm getting older, I'm waking up a bit later, and most of my work gets done in the afternoon. Right? So
I'm feeling those
my
effects
productive
now.
hours have changed. Yeah. So this happens. Like people's productive hours change based on where they live, based on what's going on in their lives, based on their age, based on the seasons. Right? All of these things make a difference. So you need to be constantly assessing yourself to figure out what are your productive hours. So like I know from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. I'm in a writing mood. So that's my writing time. That's when I sit and write my books. And I know that in the night I just want to chill. So I don't schedule anything in the night unless it's really important, or unless I find a way to make sure that I have energy at night, right? So for example, if I know certain nights I have a lecture or an interview like this or something else, on those days I take a break a bit earlier so that I have energy at the night to work. So it's all about getting to know yourself, really. And I think a lot of people don't do this. A lot of people don't get to know themselves. They either they're afraid of what they're gonna find out, or they're just too lazy to make that effort. But all aspects of personal development and self-help begin with getting to know yourself, getting to know who you are inside. And this is knowing yourself. You know, at this hour of the day, I can do this. At that hour of the day, I can't. Now, let me give this into a practical work example.
Yeah.
Just say you work 8 hours a day, and you
so
know
normal 9
during
to 5 jobs.
Yeah, 9 to 5 job. And you know, when you arrive 9 o'clock in the morning, you're full of energy, and you know, you're ready to get going. And you know, by the time you finish, have your lunch break, you're starting to dip, and about 1 hour before work closes, your mind is shut down, right?
You're completely gone.
So how do you plan your day? So what you're going to do is, you're going to take your high concentration tasks and plan them from 9 to 12. From 9 to 12, I'm going to do all my high concentration tasks, the things which require the most brain powers. You know, the research, the creative parts of your job, the things that really going to push you to your level. You're going to do it then because, you know, that's the time when you're ready to do that. And then the easier work, you know, maybe you need to answer some emails. Maybe you need to read somebody else's report. Maybe you need to make a phone call to somebody. You know, the easier stuff, you leave it for the afternoon when you're tired. Right? Because when you're tired, I mean, you may not be in the mood to write a research paper, but you still have the energy to reply to someone's email or chat to someone on the phone.
Yeah, something that's not too mind-consuming.
Something that's too taxing. Yeah. And so this is the way you're going to plan your day. You know, these are the hours that I'm productive, and so these are the hours when I'm going to get this done. And these are the hours when I'm not productive, so in these hours, I'm going to schedule those things which don't take up too much brain power. You know, for example, in my job, sometimes there's a lot of copy and paste from one file to another, like a whole hour of just copying and pasting.
So what is it that you're copying and pasting for an hour? I'm curious now.
It's basically Excel sheets.
Yeah.
A lot of numbers and stuff from one sheet to another on Excel. Yeah, things like that. Yeah, so it's a lot of
taxing,
but actually for me, it's more of just copy paste, and I find it very boring. And so that work, I leave it for when my mind is like bored. I will listen to a podcast, I listen to Muslim life hackers while copying and pasting. But I won't do that during the hour when I'm excited, because that's going to kill all my excitement.
Gosh, copy and pasting is definitely not exciting
at all. That's like the most frustrating part of my job. Right? But
it's got to be done. I leave that. So you leave it to a time where, you know, your mind is a little bit more like relaxed.
Ideally, from a time management perspective, you want to delegate that to somebody else. But sometimes I think to myself that this is something so boring and so difficult. How can I burden somebody else with it? Let me just do it myself. Because I feel sorry for the other person.
Being too kind. Alhamdulillah. So what we can take away from this is that, you know, you really have to get to know yourself and know what times of the day your energy levels are high, what times they're peaking, what times they're a bit lower, and really allocate what tasks go with what hour. If things require a lot of concentration and head work, it should really go at the times of the day, you know, when you're quite active, your mind is like going.
Yeah, and again, I said for everybody that differs. So don't think that there's one set time for everybody to work, right? If you're a night owl, then do that at night. And if you're an early bird type of person, do that in the morning. Like, everyone's different. You need to figure out for yourself which time of the day you are most productive and schedule your most high concentration tasks for that time of the day.
Fantastic. Now, additionally in your book, you have a lot of strategies and great tips and things like that. But one thing that I think that would really benefit our listeners as well is your daily planning and your weekly planning. So you talk about you mentioned in your book like two different strategies. You currently use a hybrid of a 7-day planner and a to-do list to manage your time. So a few questions on this. Can you explain these two for us, and are you still using them?
Firstly, actually, I have a bit of a gift for the listeners, and that is both of these tools. I can give them away for free. So I'm actually going to give it away for free for the listeners to the program. There'll be a link, inshallah, in the podcast page where they can click on the link, and if they send in the email address, I will email them these tools and a couple others as well. One on figuring out your productive times and where your time being wasted, and another for your 7-day planner, another on your daily planner, and another to-do list. So inshallah, once you see exactly how it is, you'll be able to understand better how these things work. Now, just to give an idea of both, the to-do list is the most simple form of time management, which basically means you write down everything that you need to do, and as you complete each task, you just tick it off, right? That's like the most primitive form of time management. It's also the most effective, in my opinion. The 7-day planner is a bit more complex, and the 7-day planner, I've got this from Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which really everybody must read. Right?
Yeah, it's a great
Anyone
read.
must read that book. I don't think I've ever met anybody who asked me what book they should read, and I didn't include that in the list of reading books. So this planner actually comes from there, right? And basically, you're going to divide your week into 7 days and divide your 7 days into hours and schedule something for each hour. And you asked if I still use these systems.
Yes.
I still use the to-do list every single day of my life, except Sundays.
But not the
Except Sunday.
7-day planner.
The 7-day planner, I weaned it off last year, and for a very specific reason. I believe the 7-day planner is perfect for people who have a fixed work schedule, right? That if you are working 9 to 5, 6 days a week or 5 days a week, and you have fixed tasks, it's easy to manage your time with a 7-day planner. So you can mark it off on Monday at this time is a meeting, on Tuesday at that time we've got to do this, certain time I'm answering my emails, certain time I'm writing my reports. You can work it out like that. It gives you a full picture of your week and everything you need to do for every hour for the entire week. Right? And that's a marvelous way to plan your day. And it worked perfectly for me when I was just working for IOU and not doing anything else.
Yeah.
But at the moment, I'm homeschooling my kids, I'm writing my books, I'm radio presenter, I'm writing articles, I'm meeting people and helping them personally. I'm doing so many things that having a fixed schedule in that way, it's a bit too tightening for me. It's not flexible enough. So
that's why you let go of the 7-day planner. To-do is a bit more flexible.
Yeah, I basically, I now have a to-do list. I have a weekly to-do list. So for each day of the week, I have marked the most important thing I need to do. And then I have the daily to-do list, which basically means every day before I finish work, I make a list of everything I need to do the next day at work. And I organize it according to level of priority. Now, I tell people to do this the day before.
Okay, why is
Because
that?
what happens is, if you do it the day before, then when you go to sleep, your subconscious mind works on that. And when you wake up, you know exactly what you've got to get done. From the time you wake up, you already know. This is everything that needs to get done today, and this is the order I'm going to do it, and this is how I'm going to do it. But if you wake up in the morning, and you have your breakfast, and now you're going to sit and think, okay, what do I need to do today? Let me make my to-do list.
It's
going to
take
take up time.
Yeah.
And not only that, you're going to forget a lot of things. Because if your boss told you something yesterday that you need to do tomorrow,
it's gonna slip
and
your
if you don't
mind.
write it down, it's going to slip your mind the next morning. So you might end up taking half an hour to an hour trying to remember and trying to get your to-do list together. While I notice if you do it the day before, it takes you about 5 minutes because, you put it rounding off. And also, what happens if you forgot something to add to your to-do list, you've got the entire night to remember and quickly add it. So it's a real lifesaver in that way. So the most important part here is that it plays on your subconscious. That you might be enjoying your evenings with your family, you might be sleeping, you might be eating your meals, but the back of your mind, right? The back of your mind is working on your to-do list and figuring out ways to get everything done the next day. So this is why I tell people, make your to-do list the day before. So ideally, what I would say is that if you are someone with a fixed schedule, you want to look into the 7-day planner. It's an excellent tool for people who have a fixed schedule. And inshallah, if you sign up to my to that email, you will receive the 7-day planner. You'll also receive the weekly to-do list and the daily to-do list, right, and how to use it. So if you're someone who's juggling a lot of responsibilities, so for example, working moms, generally a working mother, I would recommend for her a to-do list instead of a 7-day planner.
Yep.
Because really, you can't have fixed hours if you've got your kids needing your attention and you've got to deal with clients and you've got to cook and you've got, if you're doing all these things, you'd rather have a to-do list saying, I've got to get all of this done, in the day, rather than saying, for this hour, I'm only going to do that. Because it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
For working mothers or for people who work from home or from people who are on the road all the time, people who are traveling all the time, right? So
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
those type of people, the to-do list is better.
Also, I've also find with like the 7-day planner concept, if for example I don't get something done by a certain hour, I feel like disappointed in myself. But if it's a to-do list, then I've got a to-do list and I know that I've got to get this done today, and it's not exactly set in a time frame, but I know roughly that I've got to get it done, how much time it's going to take as well.
Actually, when I had my 7-day planner, when I used that, I actually had a way of getting around that.
Oh, you got to cheat for the 7-day planner.
Yeah. Yeah, I was about to say a hack. Right? I had a hack for my 7-day planner, which was for every day in my plan, I had marked out 1 hour as flexible time.
Like a buffer time.
Yes. So basically, if anything goes off rail, anything is derailed, I know I've got that 1 hour to catch up and to get it done. So that way, the 7-day planner would stay flexible enough that if you had a flat tire or a medical emergency or whatever the case may be, you know you've got that hour later to catch up or whatever you must.
So that sounds really good. So if you're someone with a fixed schedule, go for the 7-day planner. And if you've got a lot of demands and a lot of things on your plate at the same time, then more probably the to-do list. And where can our listeners find these extra resources that you've got for us? And where can they sign up to your list?
So they can visit my website, islamicselfhelp.com/MuslimLifeHackers.
Oh, fantastic.
Right? So that's a special page for those listening in, islamicselfhelp.com, which is my website, /MuslimLifeHackers. And you will see a sign-up form there. You sign in with your email address and you will receive all 4 of the templates, and also some time management activities. There are some time management activities that you will receive to help you think about how you are using your time and how you can use it more productively. These are all tools which I prepared myself specifically for anyone who's interested in learning time management under me.
Fantastic. So I'll link that also in the show notes. And Abu Muawiyah, thank you so much for putting that together. We're getting towards the end of the interview now. To shake things up a bit, what would you say to someone who says to you, Abu Muawiyah, I'm so sorry, but I couldn't get this task done for you. I'll get it tomorrow. I'm just a procrastinator. You know how it is. What would you say to someone who says that?
You're fired.
Oh gosh. Can't wait for Abu Muawiyah.
Okay, well, to be honest with you, how I run my workplace is as a head teacher is, if someone says something like that to me, I give them personal time management training. And we work on what's causing them to be a procrastinator, and we help them to overcome that, and we get them to use a to-do list or to read 7 habits or to use a 7-day planner and to get their stuff in order. And then again, if 6 months down the line, if they're still a procrastinator, then you're fired.
Oh gosh. So can you tell if someone is a procrastinator? What are the signs?
It's not really about signs, because I think every procrastinator knows they're a procrastinator. I mean, if you're sitting and watching YouTube or browsing Facebook or looking at cat memes when you're supposed to be working, then you're procrastinating, right? Procrastination is more about the reasons. Why are you procrastinating?
So get into that why.
That's the big one. Yeah, so getting into the whys. Like, I know I've always wanted to write books, but between 2011 and 2014, I didn't write any books. And I was procrastinating. I had all the ideas in my head, but I just didn't get it done. And I finally figured out my why. And when I figured out my why, I was able to overcome it. And my why is one that many people have, and that is perfectionism. Whenever I would start writing a book, I would write the first chapter, and then I would read it, and I would tell myself, there's no way in the world anyone's going to read this. And I would just give up. And then I'd start the first chapter for a different book. And the same thing would happen.
You just keep
this kept happening. Yeah, because you want your writing to be perfect, I mean, you're going to give this to the whole world to see, for the whole world to read. And, that perfectionism drive me to not write anything. And then finally, last year, I just told myself, let it go. Write the book, get it done. Doesn't matter if it's perfect or not. If you find errors, you can publish a second edition, a third edition, whatever is needed. As long as it's out there and people are benefiting, that's what matters. People benefit.
Just go.
And so once I let go of this idea of perfectionism, I stopped procrastinating. Alhamdulillah, I published 4 books this year.
That's incredible, mashallah.
And that just shows how powerful it is to find your reason and to overcome it, right? That you can just do a complete transformation from someone who never write 1 book in 4 years to someone who wrote 4 books in 1 year. It was all down to just letting go of that perfectionism and stopping my procrastination. And so for most people, perfectionism is what's causing the procrastination. And there's an excellent book on this topic which I read. It's a very rare book. I found it at a book sale, right? And it's called The Art of Procrastination. Yeah, for anyone who's stuck in procrastination, read this book. It teaches you when to procrastinate and when not to procrastinate. Because really, there's actually times when you should procrastinate. Right? I mean, if you know that tomorrow during your productive hours you'll do a better job of something, don't do it now. Leave it for tomorrow. especially if you're tired now.
So it's better to let your mind rest now and then do a better job tomorrow.
If you know, for example, right now I am too tired to conduct this interview, let's schedule it for another day. That would be perfectly cool, because you'd rather do a quality job than just do it now because you feel you have to do it now. Right? So that's kind of procrastination is fine. But where you're missing your deadlines and you're just not getting things done and you're sitting and wasting time, now we have a problem. Right? So I said perfectionism is one cause of procrastination. Now, let me just give two more famous causes of procrastination. One is lack of motivation.
Yeah.
So if you're not motivated to do something, you're going to procrastinate forever. There has to be motivation. And this is why for people who are in positions of authority, if you are giving people tasks to do, the best way to get their task done is to give them motivation, to give them a reason to do it.
Give them a why.
I mean, if you're just assigning work randomly and the people don't know how that work's going to benefit them or anybody else, they're either going to procrastinate, miss their deadlines, or they're going to do a shoddy job, right? But if you're going to show them the why, that if you do this, you will benefit all of these people in this way.
Yeah.
They will now feel that energy to get it done. They'll feel that excitement to get it done because they'll have motivation. And likewise for yourself, you need to have motivation. Right? You've got to say, I'm doing this because this is what's going to happen if I get it done. And the motivation it'll just kill that procrastination, because it's a very powerful force. Motivation is a very powerful force. And the third cause of procrastination is just plain laziness.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, some people are just lazy, and as I said, when I recognize laziness in people, I don't work with them, I don't hire them, I don't deal with them, because it's something someone can only cure themselves. Nobody can force you to give up laziness.
It's in your hand.
It really has to come from the inside. Yeah.
It seems a lot of productivity, like what you said before, it's really about knowing yourself and knowing the signs and knowing your own whys and how you fit into, say, a certain project or how your work contributes.
Yeah, this is why we call it self-help. You are helping yourself. I'm just giving you the tools. You've got to use the tools on yourself to help yourself become a better person. That's why these topics are all called self-help topics.
Absolutely. So, Abu Muawiyah, we've talked a lot about productivity, time management, finding the whys, motivating yourself. So does having managed our time and getting the barakah mean having a constantly filled to-do list and calendar, like always doing? Where does relaxation and fun, I know you mentioned fun earlier, and procrastination even fit into the equation?
It's a really good question. Firstly, we need to understand there's a difference between being productive and being busy. Right? There's a lot of people who are very busy, but they're busy doing nothing that's going to benefit them or anybody else. Think about it. If you are working all day and all night on some mundane job that's just, not benefiting you, not uplifting your soul, you're just working, that's not being productive, right? Someone who spends an hour a day reading books, that is productive. Someone who spends all day doing something which is a waste of time, even if it's keeping them busy, that's not productive. So for me, time management, really the key sign of true time management is that you are able in a day to get all of your tasks done, to meet your goals, and to still have time to play with your kids, to spend time with your wife, to hang out with your friends, or to just relax and have a cup of coffee. I mean, I gave you a list of all the things I'm doing.
Yeah.
Those are all the things I do in my work hours. I mean, I'm still hanging out with my kids, meeting my friends at the masjid and chatting, sometimes just sitting in a coffee shop and enjoying the atmosphere,
Yeah.
and a cup of coffee. That's time management. The fact that you're able to make time for that and still make time to meet your goals. Because what's going to happen is if you're just working all day, all night, you're going to get burnt out. And when you burn out, you're not going to be able to do anything. You're not going to have the energy or the motivation to do anything. And so proper time management includes noticing when you need a timeout. So I do this. Sometimes I'll be working for an hour and I realize my brain is getting tired. I'll take a 5-minute break to watch a YouTube video, a funny video.
Yeah.
And I won't feel guilty about it. I won't feel guilty about it because I know it's going to make me more productive. That if I don't take this break, it's all going to take a toll on me, and within 3 hours I'm going to be burnt out. But if I take a 5-minute break every hour, my energy stays many hours longer. So this is being productive, actually realizing, hold on, I need a break. For example, sometimes I would tell my boss that, listen, I'm very burnt out. I'm taking my wife and kids for a 1-week vacation. Is that fine? And he'll say, go, because you need a vacation so you can come back and do your job better. Because he understands that you need time out to recover from burnout and do your work better. And so you need to realize, hold on, I need to take a break. I need to take a weekend off. I need to spend the evening relaxing. I need to take a vacation with my family. All of that is part of proper time management. Because what's going to happen is if you don't do that, you will burn out. You will get demotivated. You'll stop chasing your goals and you'll just give up. right? Because you won't have the energy to move on. We are humans. We are not robots.
So we shouldn't feel guilty for, taking time out to do these things either.
Never. I never feel guilty. And even with the Sahaba, we know the story of Salman al-Farsi and Abu Darda. The Abu Darda would just pray at night and fast in the day. He wouldn't spend time with his wife, etc. And Salman al-Farsi shouted him for this. He told him, listen, your body has a right over you. Your wife has a right over you. Your religion has a right over you. So give everything the right. And Abu Darda, he went and he complained to the Prophet ﷺ about this. And the Prophet ﷺ replied, Salman is right. Just as Allah has rights over you that you worship Him, your wife has rights over you that you spend time with her, your body has rights over you that you sleep and that you relax. All of this is part of being human. And so our religion does not allow us to pray all night and not sleep. It doesn't allow us to fast every day of our lives without taking a break, because Allah knows that we need breaks to function properly.
Yeah. Absolutely. Great points. Not feeling guilty, knowing when your mind needs a break, knowing your body needs a break, when you should be spending time and just relaxing, as well as, working towards those goals as well. That is proper time management. So just wrapping up, Abu Muawiyah, so I know we mentioned a lot of books during the interview, like The Art of Procrastination. We mentioned Stephen Covey as well. But this is something we ask all of our guests. So what are 3 books that you recommend to everyone? It could be on the topic, or it could be just about anything.
I'm not going to plug my own books because inshallah the listeners will buy it anyway. I'm going to talk about 3 time management books that really made a huge difference in my life and in shaping my time management. Right? The first one, my personal favorite, is The 4-Hour Work Week by Timothy Ferriss.
Oh, that's a great book as well.
That's an amazing book. It really completely changed my whole concept of how to earn income and how to use my time and about dedication. There's just so much brilliant time management tips in it. The second one is Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. Brian Tracy is, again, I mentioned he's one of the experts in time management, and he's written I think half a dozen books on this topic. He's written over a dozen books, but he's written just a half a dozen books on the topics of time management. But from all these time management books, Eat That Frog deals specifically with the tasks you don't want to do, the work that you don't want to do. How do you get that, and how do you put that into your time management, right? How do you stop procrastinating in those things? So for anyone who's dealing with work or tasks or goals that you just don't want to do, Eat That Frog's the right book to read. Right? It'll teach you how to eat that frog, metaphorically. The final book is by Jack Canfield, right? The author of the famous series Chicken Soup for the Soul, right? Yeah. But now he wrote another book as well that many people might not be familiar with, called The Power of Focus.
Ah, okay.
Now,
I haven't heard of that one.
The Power of Focus. Yeah, I know there's a lot of people don't know about this book of his, and I read this book last year. It's really brilliant because it focuses on focuses on focus and the importance of it. Because really, when it comes to time management, many people's main problem is I can't concentrate, I can't focus, I'm getting distracted. And this book teaches you how to focus, how to avoid distractions, how to get things done, how to be in the moment, how to stay on task. So for anyone whose time management problem is the inability to focus, The Power of Focus is a brilliant book to read. It's very well written, very funny. It's got a lot of humor in it, a lot of brilliant tools. So really, these books, they've shaped my time management. A lot of what I've written is taken from all of them and put it together. But yeah, Timothy Ferriss, The 4-Hour Work Week, Brian Tracy, Eat That Frog, and The Power of Focus by Jack Canfield. And if I had to mention the 4th book, of course, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey.
Fantastic. I'm definitely going to check out The Power of Focus. That sounds really good, actually. Abu Muawiyah, finally, where can our listeners find you on the World Wide Web, your work and your books, and getting the Barakah and the other books that you've written recently this year as well?
Sure. My website is islamicselfhelp.com. Right, so if you visit islamicselfhelp.com, join my mailing list over there. You'll also find I have a section there called the ebook store, where all of my books are available for purchasing and downloading. I've actually published 4 books this year. 1 you get for free by joining our mailing list, and the other 3 you can purchase from the ebook store. One's on self-confidence, one's on time management, and the 3rd one, which I published this month, is on homeschooling. Right, so these are the books I've written. And of course, you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I think basically any social media website that I know about, I'm on it, but mostly on Facebook and Twitter. Facebook's more of my hangout. So Abu Muawiyah Ismail Kamdar on Facebook. That's where I do most of my posting. Twitter is my second favorite place, at Ismail Kamdar. Yep. And beyond that, I've recently started using Instagram, but LinkedIn is another thing that I use often. But of course, the main place would be my blog. Subscribe to my blog so you get my articles and everything immediately. IslamicSelfHelp.com. That and Facebook are the 2 main places where you'll find me.
Fantastic. And we'll link everything and links to IslamicSelfHelp.com, your books, and the extra resources that you have available for the Muslim Life Hackers audience in our show notes. And finally, Abu Muawiyah, any last words, any life hacks that you'd like to leave for our listeners?
Okay, a life hack. Speed listening. We all know about speed reading. How many people know about speed listening? Right. A few years ago, I was teaching at a youth camp. Me and a friend of mine, he's a life coach. Two of us were teaching at a youth camp, and we were talking about, that I'm not getting enough time to listen to all the lectures and podcasts I want to listen to.
Yeah.
So he told me, why don't you speed listen? I'm like, what in the world is speed listen? He told me, use VLC player and play the lecture at double speed, at times 2 speed. The entire 1 hour lecture will be complete in half an hour, and you will get the entire thing. And it was a very major life hack for me, because at that time I was studying online lectures, and those online lectures were like 1 hour, 2 hours each, and I had to listen to like 3 of them a day, and it cut down to 1.5 hours of listening to lectures when I started playing it at double speed. So, this is something that's a major life hack. Take a lecture, play it at double the speed, and what I notice is most lecturers, when they speak, they don't speak at the normal speaking voice, they speak slowly. Right?
Yeah,
so when you play it at double speed, when you play it at double speed, it's actually at the normal speaking voice, your normal level of speech. So you can still understand every word they are saying. You can still get the full message, and you do it in half the time. This is a huge time management hack.
Sounds like you're hacking time. Yep.
Yeah, really, you feel like you're hacking time. You can tell people, I listened to 3 hours of lectures in 1.5 hours. They'll think you're a wizard or something. So. Yeah, well, the Muslim life hackers out there, that's the last hack I'd like to leave you with. Speed listening, check it out. Use VLC Player or some similar tool. Use speed times 2 on any audio clip, and you'll see how quickly you can get things done, inshallah.
Inshallah. So guys, do get speed listening and start hacking time. So alright, Abu Muawiyah, that is all we have time for this interview today. Thank you so much for joining us and giving us a better understanding of time management, productivity, and how to hack our life even more. Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah khair, and Jazakallah for having me. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alright, so that wraps up our episode on time management and productivity with Abu Muawiyah Ismail Kamdar. Something that really struck me that Abu Muawiyah mentioned in the interview was the issue of long-term goals and how we're always looking for instant gratification in our everyday lives. Not being afraid to go at those long-term goals, even if they might take years, because the time is going to pass anyway, and the question is, what do we have to show for it? That's still blowing my mind right now. So there were many great resources mentioned in the talk, as well as the time management resources and tools that Abu Muawiyah has kindly put together exclusively for Muslim Life Hackers listeners, which you can find over at IslamicSelfHelp.com/Muslim Life Hackers. So do check it out, as well as Abu Muawiyah's latest books, including Getting the Barakah, which we spoke about during the interview, and start hacking your time, inshallah. That ends off our episode. Until next time, Muslim Life Hackers. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you for listening to the Muslim Life Hackers podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to leave a review for us on iTunes by going to muslimlifehackers.com/iTunes.